Okay, we're going to be getting started in just a second here, just giving a few more moments for people to join. It's great to see you all, or not to see you, but to feel your presence in any event. I love ASW. A Small World is it's just a wonderful organization, as you already know. It's global. It's got a tremendous reach. It's a wonderful community. And I had the privilege of actually presenting a webinar for ASW a couple of months ago about public speaking, and they were gracious enough to invite me back to talk about something I think is so important right now in all of our lives, and that is to learn something about how we live in times like the times that we are all experiencing. These are it's unprecedented in so many ways, and I think in a large part it is also caused tremendous stress and strain on many people, because of course it's a very new normal that we're all working through. So we're going to get started now in just a second here. I want to first of all share with you a bit of the origin story. So first of all, my name is Adam Markel, in case you didn't already know that, Adam Markel. And what you're seeing here is actually a picture of me standing on a TED stage about 2 years ago, where I spoke about something that was really vulnerable for me. At the time, I was sharing about how my life had gone through some really rocky times. I had written a book about some of that rocky period in my life called Pivot, where I used to wake up in the morning, and I don't know how many of you can relate to this or not, but I used to wake up in the morning and put my feet on the floor, and the first feelings that I had when the day began were anxiousness, this feeling of anxiety, this feeling that maybe I just wanted to sort of not get out of bed, just kind of stay put, because that would feel better. If you can relate to that, one of the things that I really want us to do today is share a lot. I'm going to share quite a bit, and I want you to also feel free to share what's going on for you. And so you can use the chat to comment on things that I'm sharing and express your own points of view and actually answer some of the questions that I'm going to pose to all of you now. So please use the chat for that. And where you have questions for me, there'll be a little time at the end for Q&A. So you can use the Q&A. It's a different place to put your questions in, and use that for questions you might have that you want me to answer later on. And then obviously we'll just take things as they go. But right now, if you've ever started your day with that sort of feeling of angst or anger or uncertainty or anxiety, which is the word that I would use for how I used to start my day, just go ahead and put that in the chat so that we all can understand that at a minimum, we're not alone. Meaning the things that we feel, we tend to think that they're just us, and maybe we're not right, or that there's something wrong, or that we're the cause of all of our pain and suffering, et cetera. And I think it's really helpful when we understand that so many of these things are actually universal, and that we're all feeling them. And then we can feel more like we belong and more a part of a community and not such an outsider. And I know I felt that way because I was a lawyer at the time. And so I was a litigation attorney, meaning I went to trial and was kind of a professional gladiator on behalf of my clients. And so there really wasn't a lot of room in that professional space for weakness and vulnerability. And there really weren't many people that I could even discuss this with. I was blessed to be married to my college sweetheart. I think this summer we're going to be married 32 years. So we've known each other a really long time. And back then we were sort of just getting started in our marriage. We had kids, we had 4 kids. And I didn't feel as though I could even share some of these vulnerabilities with my wife back then, because at least from the standpoint of me as a husband, as a man, my primary concern was to protect and to provide. Those were the 2 things I thought I must do to be a successful husband and a successful father. So I kept that stuff to myself. So it's something that only sort of got worse over time, to the point where sometimes when I put my feet on the floor, I wouldn't just feel anxiety, I would actually feel dread. And I ultimately ended up in the hospital on a Saturday morning. Instead of being at my son's baseball game, I ended up in the emergency room with my wife standing beside my bed, feeling my heart pounding so hard out of my chest that it felt like it was on the outside of my body, and I was sweating profusely. And I thought I wasn't even going to see my kids again, ever. And the doctor told me that day that fortunately my heart was fine. I wasn't having a heart attack. I was having what he called a panic attack, an anxiety attack. And it was a pivotal moment for me. It was scary, but it was also a tremendous relief. And I remember not knowing what I was supposed to do at that point. I was stressed out. I wasn't happy with my life. I was miserable in my profession. I didn't love what I was doing for work, for money. And I just felt like I was really out of options. And I remember one night I was sitting up late watching TV, watching a movie. I love movies. And I watched this old movie, which is an old movie now, but back then it wasn't so old, called Jerry Maguire. How many of you have ever seen that movie, Jerry Maguire, with Tom Cruise? Go ahead, just put it in the chat if you know what I'm talking about, Jerry Maguire. So there's an interesting part of Jerry Maguire where he introduces us to his mentor. Yeah, I see. That's very cool. Yes, me. Beautiful. I see that, Dulia. Yes. So Jerry has this mentor, and his name is Dickie Fox. And there's a point where Dickie Fox, who's an older gentleman, says this to the camera. He says, "In all honesty, I've failed as many times as I've succeeded in my life. But I love my life, and I love my wife, and I wish you my kind of success." And even in this moment, I can feel the chills, because that night when I watched that movie, I thought to myself, my God, I wish I loved my life. I love my wife. I feel so blessed in so many ways to be married to my college sweetheart, and to have 4 healthy kids, and have a house. But yet I was miserable. How is it possible to be in a state of appreciation and a state of misery at the same time? And I didn't know what to do with that. But what I chose to do was to say those words out loud. I love my life. And even though I didn't know what that meant, I couldn't really say it truthfully at the time. I just decided that when I woke up in the morning and I was feeling that anxiousness, that instead of allowing my mind to sort of spiral into places of fear and doubt and worry, instead, what I would do is I would put my feet on the floor, and I would take a deep breath, and I would say those 4 words out loud. I love my life. And what's amazing is that out of my experience of doing that, my practice of doing that, the TED Talk was born. And from the TED Talk, a book called the I Love My Life Challenge, which is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'm going to share with you 4 principles that are a part of this way of being, a different way of being that I discovered many years ago now, that I want to share with all of you. And I'll say this too, the 4 things that I've selected to share with you and the work that we're going to do today is not part of this workbook. So the good news is, if you've already gotten the workbook, it's not going to interfere with the 28 days, because it's a 28-day workbook for change. So if you've got the book, don't worry about it, because we're not going to interfere with those practices. And of course, if you want to find that you do want to do the workbook, this is not going to get in the way of doing that either. So let's start with the first thing that I think is absolutely vital, fundamental, when it comes to how you develop an I love my life way of being. And the first part is to love and to bless, to love and to bless. There's a wonderful philosophy. It comes from Hawaii. It's a Huna tradition. And it states, bless that which you want. Bless that which you want. Because anything that you bless will bless you back. Anything that you bless will bless you back. And anything that you negate, you cannot have. Anything that you curse or condemn or resent will only curse or condemn or resent you back. Bless that which you want. So I want to give you an exercise right now that you can do on your own. You could start to do it right now. You could put your answers in the chat if you like. And this is also life work, something that you can do on your own. So I want you to think about and even list how it is that you are actively blessing these areas of your life? Meaning, how are you demonstrating love for your body, your mind, and your spirit? How are you blessing your health? How are you blessing your business, your career, your associates, your finances, your money, your relationships with others? What are the areas that you're specifically blessing? That's your first list. So you can start to create that list right now by typing in the chat some of those areas that you're actively blessing. Go ahead and do that right now. What are some things that you just, as you're sitting here or standing wherever you are right now, taking a nice deep breath, what are the areas that you are blessing? I see that Fabian is saying health, doing yoga, meditation. Yes, via the workout. Yes. What are the ways in which you're blessing yourself? I see Deanna says, I actively bless my health. Yes. And then beautiful, Marius says, not much, to be honest. Rosie is saying health and people caring about me. Yes. So I want you to recognize right now where you are consciously and intentionally blessing yourself in those key areas of your life. And then I also want you to think about something else. And this is the tough part. And this is what you just said, Marius. I really appreciate and applaud your honesty here. What are the areas where you're actually indifferent or even ignoring parts of your life, or maybe even condemning areas of your life? There are lots of people, for example, who resent other people, resent them for their success or their power, or resent people that have a lot of money. I know that's a very difficult thing for many of us because it doesn't make sense that there should be people that have so much when there are other people in the world that have so very little. And we can tend to feel judgmental about those people and those situations. And I want to bring us back to that Huna philosophy. Comes from Hawaii, that says you bless that which you want. So if you want to have more money in your life and more financial success, you have to bless money. You have to bless people that are successful, bless people that have money, because anything that you negate, that you dismiss, that you condemn or resent, you can never have yourself. I want you to really let that sink in. And now, for honesty's sake, what are some of those areas that you are actively indifferent to? And I see Deanna saying, I've been ignoring my relationships, and I would like to bring that to the blessing side of the chart. Yes, Marius, career as my business partner is a douche. Yeah, Marius, I get it, buddy. I've had many business partners in my life that I didn't care for. And that I would find myself wishing them harm. Sometimes we actually wish not good things for our relatives, brothers or sisters or cousins, business partners, people that we see in the news, on social media, politicians. I mean, there's so many places where we're sort of actively putting out an energy that condemns things or condemns even people. So we've got to recognize that everything comes back to the sort of fundamental laws of the universe, including the law of momentum. And what you see here on the screen is just a picture of the way dominoes work. You know, dominoes are so cool because you know that when they're lined up properly, one domino just naturally knocks over another one, right? Which is beautiful. But what you also may not realize is that one domino also has the capacity to knock over another domino that's slightly bigger than itself. In fact, if you could imagine stretching out, starting with a tiny little domino that's like about a half an inch high, and just lining up 28 dominoes, and every domino is 1.5 times the size of the one before it. By the time you get to the 28th domino, the one knocking over the next and the next and the next, the 28th domino is actually about the size of the Empire State Building. And what that tells me is that dominoes are not just a great analogy or example of how the law of momentum works, but how when you are able to do one small thing that enables you to take another small action, and then another small action that's slightly bigger than the last, that ultimately you're not just creating momentum, but you're creating this scale, this ability to live life and create results that are bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. But it starts with a single baby step. And when it comes to loving your life, this statement is just a tiny domino. It's the tiniest of dominoes you can think of, really. You could say it right now. I love my life. That's all it takes. Because when you love your life, my experience is that your life will love you back. And that's fundamentally what we're talking about here. We're talking about an attitude. Loving your life is a way of living, and ultimately a way of living that brings about peace. And when we have peace, we are more resilient. So, first step in this process is simply to bless that which you want. The next step is gratitude. And gratitude to me is one of the most magical things that you will ever experience in your life. And you don't have to take my word for it. The research is clear. The science is clear that gratitude literally alters our heart and our molecular structure, the structure of our brain, the dendrites, the neural pathways of our brain are changed by gratitude. People who are grateful about their lives live longer. They are healthier. They are happier by a percentage of almost a quarter. They have fewer health complaints. And of course, they take better care of themselves. So how is it that you develop some new habits around gratitude? Well, I'm giving you just a short list of the things that I engage in on almost a daily basis. I engage in almost every single one of these things. So first of all, waking gratitude. What is waking gratitude? Well, 3 steps for me. When I wake up in the morning, I immediately feel grateful because I recognize in that moment that as I'm taking that breath, that there are people who are taking their very last breath in that very same moment. That's a sacred moment. It's holy. It's spiritual for me. I feel grateful in that moment. And then I say, I love my life right from my bed. I say it, I declare it out loud because I remember how it felt years ago to be feeling that anxiety and even that dread. And it was awful. And now I just replaced that. I've replaced it. It's called the Law of Substitution. I substituted my habit of feeling anxious with feeling grateful. Nutritional gratitude. Well, for me, that means I'm grateful for my food. Before I eat, I pray. I say a little prayer. I say thank you. I say thank you for blessing this food, which nourishes and renews and regenerates my body, my mind, my heart, and my soul. So gratitude while you're eating, while you're chewing is so powerful. You can create a gratitude box. That's something that I did years ago that even our kids have now done. We can put things in a box that are statements of of things that you are grateful for, or a gratitude jar. We have a gratitude jar in our home. And when our friends come over, they put little slips of paper that say what they're grateful for. We used to keep paper right by the jar and a pen. I don't think that pen and paper are there anymore, but people know when they come to our house, it's so important to put something in that gratitude jar. We love rocks. We have rocks in our head. I think we have rocks all over our house because when we find something, we infuse it with gratitude, usually at the beach or on a walk, we bring it home. Gratitude, walking and seeing in nature, seeing even on the street in the middle of the city, all the things that you are grateful for on a simple walk that takes you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, walking around and just looking and acknowledging all the things that you could be grateful for. Keeping a journal, a simple journal. Everybody, this is kind of old school. I've got journals all over the place where I just write things down, thoughts and ideas. And of course, one of the best things that you can write down is simply what you are grateful for. Maybe you keep that gratitude journal in the morning. Maybe you keep it at night. You do that before you go to bed at night. It's such a wonderful way to usher in your sleep with gratitude, thinking about where it is, in fact, you felt grateful today. Because there's no question that being grateful for the things that you have is so important. But there's something else that I want to share with you that's kind of a secret weapon, if you will, when it comes to gratitude. And I don't think a lot of people are too familiar with this. We call it pre-visional gratitude. Pre-visional gratitude, which means that you are grateful for things before they've happened. not just after they've happened, but before they've happened. And I've got one practice that I started about 12 years ago that I want to quickly share with you. And what you see here is actually a picture of my code of conduct, this document that I call a code of conduct. And I thought, just so you know, it's a real thing. I'm holding up right now what my code of conduct looks like today. It's held together with a lot of love and a bit of tape. And it's been around the globe a few times, many times actually. And I want to share with you this simple practice for starting your day on the right foot, as my grandmother would say. And that is by creating a code for yourself, a blueprint for how you want your day to be. What do you think about that for a second? How do you want your day to be today, right now? What if I told you that you had the power to create the day that you want, maybe even the day of your dreams, every single day that you're blessed to wake up? But I'll also tell you this, it doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by default, usually. It happens by intention and planning. And this is a blueprint. The practice that I'm going to give you right now is a blueprint for how to do that. So when I did this 12 years ago, I started with 13 simple statements, 13. And they all started the same way. They all start the same way. I experience blank today. And I happen to always start with I experience gratitude today. That is my first statement each and every time I sit down to do this. And then I sit just for a moment feeling grateful in the moment. I'm grateful right now for ASW. I'm grateful for all of you, for your contribution, for all the things that you're typing in the chat, for the fact that we are connected energetically, whether we ever meet physically or even see each other. I'm grateful for you, for your presence. I'm grateful for the community, the greater community of our world, and all the blessings that are here for all of us and for the generations to come. I'm feeling that gratitude now, even though we're living in a world that is troubled. We know there are too many troubles to count, too many challenges to think about. And yet, I feel grateful for the fact that our world is becoming more peaceful, that I'm becoming more peaceful, and therefore I'm contributing peace into the world. I'm grateful for those things because I have them on this list of things that I want to experience today. So I'm going to ask you to start your code of conduct right now. I'll read a few of mine just so you can hear them out loud. And then I want you to start typing them into the chat. Think about how do you, and this is the question I have for you, how do you want to experience yourself being today? I experience living with a positive and a harmonious attitude today. I experience being of service to others today. I experience feeling healthy, wealthy, and wise today. I experience creating empowering solutions today. I experience living in absolute integrity and kindness today. And then I always end with the same two. I always end with, I experience forgiveness today, because I know how important it is that we forgive ourselves and that we have the capacity to actually forgive others as well. And I experience miracles today. And I wonder what miracles are coming today. So what are the things that you want to experience? Go ahead and type those in the chat. Let me go ahead and take a look at those. And I'll just show you again, this is a simple exercise. I experience blank today. What do you want to experience in your life today? I experience a day full of energy. I see Rebecca wrote that. That's beautiful. I experience awe and wonder. S. Lee, thank you for that. I experience love today, Fabian. Yes. And Marius, I experience a focused day. Yes, brother, exactly. What are those things? I experience kindness today, Beatrice. So beautiful. Oh my goodness, exactly. I experience being a presence or being present today. I experience being loved and being loved today. I experience affection, Christos. Yes, from a person that I didn't expect. Beautiful. Rosie, I have loved and been loved. Yes. I experienced forgiveness today. Absolutely. So the goal is that you create your list. And that list can be 5 things. It can be 2 things. It can be 22 things. Mine started out as 13. And this is actually my original list. And of course, you can borrow any of mine because they're not mine to begin with. These are just things that when we sit quietly at the beginning of the day, and it helps to have it written down, we sit quietly, we can create the blueprint for the kind of day that we most wish to have. And I'll say this too, which again is absolutely just my opinion, my experience of living that I'm sharing with you, that when we give ourselves this kind of a day, the perfect day, if you will, that becomes our gift to the world. The day that we give ourselves is actually the gift that we get to give others. That's the way I think it works. Now, why do we have to do that? Well, in order for us to continue to move forward, to be able to live great lives, to be able to help other people live great lives, we have to be around. And being around, being able to learn from our difficult experiences, as well as the ones that are positive and easy, we have to be around to be able to learn things, to share them with others. And that's what resilience is all about. So I want to talk about resilience because resilience is fundamentally the most important thing when it comes to how we can learn to love our lives. Loving our lives is the result of resilience, and resilience is the result of loving your life. So what is resilience? How do you define it? I mean, with everything that's been going on in our world right now, a raging pandemic, social and political unrest, financial hardship for so many people, as well as people that have done very, very well. How do you define resilience for yourself? Go ahead and type in right now your own definition of resilience. I'm going to give you ours in just a second, but I want to know yours. How do you define resilience for yourself? What's your definition of resilience? Go ahead and put that in the chat now. Staying positive through hard times, Fabian. Yeah, exactly. Bouncing back, Deanna. Stable mind and calm nerves. My bounce back ability. I love that one. Antoinette. Yes. Resilience is being able to ride the waves of all sizes, wide waves of all sizes with grace. Oh, you know what? I've got a book coming out in August that's all about riding those waves. And I'll say this too about bouncing back. I really believe that resilience is about bouncing forward. And I'm not quibbling over the words. I just feel like resilience today means our ability to leverage, to use adversity and uncertainty as a catalyst for our long-term growth. We've got to grow. It's like those dominoes that we saw earlier. It's not just about tipping over the next domino. It's not about just surviving for another day. It's about being able to actually kick butt. Throwing out survival as the goal and making our dreams, thrilling dreams, the goal. To thrive, in other words. And you don't have to trust me on this. It's, again, the research is clear. McKinsey studied companies coming out of the last great recession of 2008. What they found was very simple, that resilience was the key to those companies not just bouncing back, but bouncing forward. Bouncing forward. So if you're running a company, a small company or a large company, it's one of the things that I love to talk about and teach about. We do a lot of keynote speaking to organizations about the importance of creating resilient individuals and resilient cultures, because resilience produces higher levels of innovation, of cognitive flexibility, of creativity, of the kind of novelty of ideas that actually make a difference. That's the stuff that's outside the box. And of course, making use of those ideas. That is fundamentally what separates successful companies from lesser successful companies, or companies that don't even make it through. And the deal is we've got to develop our resilience before we need it. In other words, the time to develop resilience is now, right now, in the midst of everything that's going on. Because we know that one thing is for certain, as I know my own name is Adam, this is not the last challenge that any of us are going to face in our lives. It's not the last challenge that our businesses or our entrepreneurial pursuits or our career will face. And who knows, the next challenges could be even bigger than these. So the time to get ourselves in shape is now, of course. Now, I love this guy. Who knows who this is? It's Sylvester Stallone, of course. But what year was this movie? Anybody recall when this movie first came out? Go ahead and type in the chat if you remember this. And also, how many movies under the heading of Rocky have they made so far? Quick quiz. How many Rocky movies have they made? So it's in the 70s. You're right. That's right, Marius. 6. All right. Let me see if there are any other answers. 76. I get another one from Claudia. Sylvester Stallone has somehow been able to make 8 Rocky movies. And this first one started the whole franchise in 1976. And I remember because I was just a kid at the time. And my dad took me to the movies. Just my dad and I went to the movies. And when we got out of the movie, I just remember running. And I mean running with my arms up in the air, just singing that theme song, gonna fly now. It's like literally like my feet were levitating. I ran past the car. My dad had to come and get me. And the thing about Rocky was that he's so inspiring, right? Because he gets knocked down, he gets back up. He gets knocked down, he gets back up, he gets knocked down, he gets back up. How many times did he get knocked down? Anybody know that? I've yet to go back, and I keep saying this. I'm going to go back and watch this movie and count how many times he gets knocked down and gets back up. So there's no question that he wins our hearts in this movie, but he also loses the fight. And as my friends from New Jersey would say, he don't look too good either. He's all banged up in the end. And so many of us think that resilience is about how we do the Rocky thing. We think it's our ability to just continue to get back up after we've been knocked down. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm not looking at, it's not motivation. This is the real. This is not just my real experience. This is our real research on this topic, that resilience is not about just enduring. It's not about winning the Night Owl Award. It's not about just bouncing back. It's about our ability to recover and then develop strength out of that recovery so that we're actually better than we were before, that we're bigger and stronger and able to knock over that bigger domino in our lives. That's what resilience is about. It's about recovery. It's not just physical either. Rocky is a great physical example of endurance, but it's also emotional. It's mental. It's even spiritual as well. I have a question for all of you right now. Are you too tired to think big? I see there's a typo on this. I apologize. Are you too tired to think big? Are you? Because so many of us want to play a bigger game in our lives, don't we? And I'm looking to see in the chat here. I want to get an answer to this. Are you too tired to think big? Are you? Are your employees, your partners, the people in your organization, are they too tired to think big? Because this is the worst part of exhaustion to me, is that it cuts off our creativity. It cuts off the flow that allows us to find not only solutions, but to innovate, to create new things. So we've got to be able to reset, to recover, in other words. And I got to tell you, I love what the I love my life statement does for me. It helps me to create a reset. Anytime that I find myself again feeling that fear or that doubt or that worry, and I know some of you are feeling it as well. Research is clear that we're all feeling it, that anxiety and depression is something that has increased at great speed among many, many people. 1 in 4 people that were studied in June in the age group of 18 to 24 alone had suicidal thoughts. It's a terrible statistic. We need something that helps us to recover in the moment each day. And one of the things that I think is really powerful is a statement that you can make. And I want to ask you to make your own statement right now. I love using I am statements. I have an I am statement for myself today. I am loving awareness. That's what came through for me this morning. I am loving awareness. What's a statement that you can create for yourself right this second? That's the beauty of it. We can just do it right now, that you can use as a reset tool for yourself today. What does that look like for you? Go ahead and type it in the chat. I'll read some of them out loud. I started it off. I am loving awareness. An I am statement is very powerful, and you can use it at any point during the day when you might be feeling that anxiousness or feeling depressed or sad or lonely or feeling angry or resentful or anything else that doesn't feel empowering or feeling exhausted even when you're tired. What's an I am statement that can pull you out of that? There it is. I am not tired, but too busy to reflect. I am renewed energy. I am a better me today. So who wrote that down? Not tired. So come up with a statement as the reverse of that. I am more than enough. I love this one. I am strong yet kind, or I am strong and kind. I am persevering. I am a better me today. Yes. What are some of the other statements that you can write down that are going to be just a simple thing that you don't have to share with anybody else, but you can say to yourself? I am not afraid. Oh, thank you, Ivana. Beautiful. I am loved, Fabian. Yes, that's so beautiful. I am chosen. I love that. I am healthy and friendly and helpful, Beatrice. Exactly. Listen, this is for you. And all I can tell you about this is that it's worked for me. I don't know what your experience of it will be. I can just tell you that, I've been in business a lot of years. I've had a great deal of success, knock on wood, and all the things that people would call success, money and family, relationships, health. And yet I have my down moments and my down days. And this is a simple practice that I use that just gets me right back on track. And again, when I feel exhausted, I can say, I am energized. And you might think, well, it's just words, but words become self-fulfilling prophecies, folks. That's the truth of it. Your words have power. Your words are really pronouncements. They're declarations that come out of your mouth. They're very, very powerful. And we've got to create rituals. This kind of thing is really about how it is that we ritualize something. Because when we ritualize it, we habitualize it. Meaning, I'm always asked by folks, whenever we do a training for an organization or even sometimes for a startup and, company that's just getting going, they say to us, well, how do we create new habits? And I say, well, you've got to ritualize things to be able to create new habits. And one of the things that I want to share with you is a way to do that simply. And I use as an example this gentleman right here. His name, if you recognize him, you got about 3 seconds. Go ahead. I love it. I am good the way I am. Oh, thank you, Rebecca. That's beautiful. Yes. His name is Dave Brailsford. Dave Brailsford was the British performance director for the British cycling team. He started in that role in 1998. Now, here's the thing about Dave Brailsford and the British cycling team in 1998. That team had not won a gold medal in the Olympics since 1908. You heard me right. Not since 1908. They had never won a Tour de France. So basically, you could say this team sucked. You could also say that it's probably true that some very, very, very big changes were going to be required to get this team back on track. But Dave Brailsford didn't see it that way. What he saw was a team that could win by making small changes, tiny changes, what he called 1% changes, the 1% factor, the littlest of changes. So he started to examine everything from the kind of helmets that they were wearing, the type of uniform, cycling uniforms they had, the way that they were sleeping at night, the way, what they were eating, even the trucks that carried the cycles to the races. I want to use this as an example. The box trucks that carried the cycles to the races, he decided to paint those trucks, not the outside of the truck, the inside of the truck. He painted the inside of the trucks white. They were previously like brown or black, and he decided to paint them white. Take a guess why he wanted to paint those trucks white. If you've got an idea of why, go ahead and put it in the chat right now. And I love it right here. Israel said they won the Olympics, the Tour de France, the beds in the hotels where they rested, everything. Yes. Hope, Julia. Yes, to make them look clean and nice, Marius. Beautiful. So the reason that Dave Brailsford painted those trucks white was because he realized that the cycles, these high performance cycles, dust and dirt and anything that would get in the way and interfere with the performance could cost them a second or a fraction of a second even. And he wanted to be able to know for sure that the trucks that were carrying the bikes weren't contributing any dust or dirt into the gears. And the only way he could do that is to paint them white. So with the naked eye, people could see if there was dirt and dust that was gathered. Those 1% changes ultimately resulted in 2004, them winning 2 gold medals in the Olympics. In 2008, they won more medals than any other team at the Olympics that year. And at last count, they won 6 or 7 Tour de France victories. This is the key to every change we want to make in our life starts at this premise point, that you make a small change in direction. Because what we typically do instead is we opt for the status quo, especially if what we think is that we have to make big changes. So maybe right now you're saying to yourself, I want to be able to love my life. I want to be able to develop resilience, but I don't know where to start. Do I have to quit my job? Do I have to move? Do I have to do something drastic? And Dave Brailsford's example is clear. Small changes are all that you need to think about to break the status quo. This is a chart that comes out of our Pivot book, where we say that just making a 1% change in direction over time creates a very different outcome. In fact, you cannot change the input in any system without the output also changing. We call that transformation. Transformation. Some people call it the law of small differences or the butterfly effect. But the goal is that you think of the areas of your life where you could make a 1% change, where you can commit to doing something a little bit differently. Again, when it comes to resilience and it comes to recovery, we're talking about the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual. That's what resilience is. It's holistic. So how is it that we make those changes? What are the areas of our life? Well, I've given you just a couple of examples already. The I am statement is a very quick reset, a 10-second reset, if you will. What you eat and how you eat and whether you actually put love into your food or you bless your food is a very small change to make. Meditating for 5 minutes in the morning or doing the code of conduct that I shared with you, those I experienced statements. That's a small change. Taking a walk for 20 or 30 minutes in the afternoon, going for a swim, making sure that you go to bed at a reasonable hour at night instead of staying up and watching TV or watching YouTube or something. These are small changes, unplugging. I can tell you, you look at my phone right here, I'm holding it up. It's grayscale. And I'll show you what it looks like when I just hit this toggle button. That's what it looks like in color, but I keep it on grayscale because it's one small change that I realized that I could make to stay off this thing a little bit more. It's cut my touch time on my phone by almost half because without the colors and without the sound, it's much less inviting. And again, there's lots of research on this as well, that we are addicted to those phones, and the people who have created those apps want us addicted to those devices. And it is exhausting us. It's called constant cognitive arousal. That's the technical term for it. We're touching our cell phones 150 to 200 times a day. Hours and hours and hours of spending time on those phones that most of which is not business related. These are small changes that we can make to simply create a more resilient body, mind, and spirit. Another thing that we can do is find out where we are right now in terms of how resilient are you? You can go to this website, resiliencerank.com, and entirely free, nothing for sale, no strings attached. We'd love to be able to share with you where you stand right now. You go to resiliencerank.com, and in 3 minutes, and this is the best part of it, in 3 minutes, after answering these questions, 16 very simple questions, you're going to get your rank, your score, and you're also going to get a Kickstart guide with very specific rituals that you can start to engage in to create that small change, those slowly developed changes that ultimately become habits. When it comes to creating new habits, there's lots of ways to do it. I love, there's a book called Atomic Habits by Cleary. Oh, goodness gracious. If you know who that book is by, or you can look it up right now, please put it in the chat, because I'm just drawing a blank on it right now, which is interesting because, again, it's so interesting the way our minds work that when we try to force our minds to think about something or to come up with a solution, we can't. We actually have to relax our mind. So I'm going to take a deep breath and go, James Cleary. I think that may be it. Atomic Habits, a great book. There's 4 things that I took away from that read. 1, when it comes to creating a new habit, start small. Make it easy on yourself. James Clear, thank you so much for that. Beautiful. Make it small. Make it easy on yourself. Schedule it. And also find an accountability partner. So when it comes to the work that I'm assigning to you, if you choose to do this, to create your own recovery map, meaning those small 1% changes that you can begin to implement to create your more mental resilience, more emotional resilience, more physical resilience, and even more spiritual resilience, you're going to need somebody or want to have somebody that's going to hold you accountable. So if you choose to take this on, if you choose to do that, find somebody else that can also hold you accountable. Again, I know a lot of you right now are already in the I Love My Life Challenge, the 28-day challenge workbook. Even with a book like this, where you're writing things down, it's so important that you share it with others, that you have an accountability partner to help you with it. Because there's one thing that we know for certain, that resilience is the key. It's your competitive edge in the marketplace, personally and professionally. It's the ace in the hole for all of us, because it improves our health. It improves our quality of life. It lowers the burnout and the exhaustion that is an epidemic in our world right now. And it gives us more energy to be able to solve life's challenges and also to enjoy our lives. So these are the 4 things that I wanted to cover today with all of you. When it comes to how you truly can love your life, remember, you've got to love that which you want. You bless that which you want. And we have to stop cursing and condemning things and resenting things, because anything that we send that intention toward will send the very same back to us. That's my experience. And again, you don't have to buy that. That's just something you can determine on your own. It hits back at us when we condemn things, we fight things. Better that we provide the blueprint for what we actually want, like gratitude. That's a blueprint. Be grateful and appreciative, and you'll have more things to be grateful and appreciative of. And again, if this sounds like motivation or inspiration, I guess so be it. We have to develop our resilience and the rituals to create that resilience, because our resilience is a gift to ourselves, but it's also a gift to the world. It's a gift to everyone else around us, that we are stronger, that we don't just bounce back from the things that challenge us. We bounce forward, that we're able to tip over those bigger and bigger dominoes, that we're actually able to think big because we're not exhausted. We're not too tired to think big. I don't think we can ever think big enough, by the way. I think that's just one of those things that we have to challenge ourselves each and every day. I do that almost every day, if I'm being honest, not every day, But I'm challenging myself even in this moment as I'm saying it to all of you. Where can I think bigger? Where can we individually and as a world think bigger about what's possible? I love this lyric from J. Cole. Actually, my godson shared this with me. Love Yours is the name of the song. And I love this line. There's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. There's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. Now, I would love it if there were things that you guys wanted to share or things that you wanted to ask me. So we've got a little bit of time right here to tackle some Q&A. So if there are any questions, I'm going to just go ahead and check the Q&A to see. I don't see any questions in there. If you've got a question, you can go ahead and put it in the Q&A and I'll be notified. I'll see that. But in the meantime, while you're thinking of a question, I want us to all do one thing right now, which would be really cool. And thank you so much, Fabian, for saying that the webinar was amazing. So here's what I would love for you to do. I want you to think about one thing that is your key takeaway from what we just did today. What's one thing that you want to remember and maybe even something you want to share with other people? So don't hit send. I want you to type it into the chat, but don't hit enter yet because we're going to do something called a takeaway waterfall. So I'll count to 3. And when I say go, you guys will all hit enter. But for now, just go ahead and type it into the chat, meaning type it in, but don't hit enter. And then in just a second, when everybody's had a moment to type in their one key learning or takeaway, something that you want to remember for yourself or something perhaps you want to share with other people, maybe a friend or a family member or a business associate. Maybe it's that guy, that business partner that's acting like an idiot, but whatever it might be that you want to share, go ahead and type it in. And I'm going to count to 3 and then we'll all hit enter at the same time. When I say go, not before, and then we'll read them together. All right. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. Hit enter. Okay. Wow. Look at these. Oh, so cool. Oh, look at this. 1% change. Feel gratitude for my life every day, Rosie. Thank you. Small pieces of changes and positive thinking are powerful, Marius. Do the 1% chain, Nazil. Yes. Gratitude, MK. Gratitude for everything. Rituals. Oh, Antoinette. Resilience is bouncing forward. Gratitude is magical. Natabi. Yes. Beautiful. My biggest takeaway is that creating a code of conduct as a morning ritual. Esli. Beautiful. Adopt and follow through rituals. Karen. Beautiful. Resilience, Genoma, yes. And if I'm not pronouncing your name, please forgive me. Small change equals big impact, Mary. Annika, living positive. Bless more, Claudia. Dulia, to always be grateful. Loving your life is an attitude, a way of living. Be proud of it. Oh, that's so beautiful, Deanna. Yes, I will definitely use the I experience blank today ritual every day. I loved it. Oh my goodness, so cool, everybody. Oh, magnificent. I will say it has been such a pleasure to be here with all of you, and we've still got just a couple of minutes left. So if you've got a question for me, also, if you'd like to find out more about the art and science of reconnecting with your life, this breakthrough guide called the I Love My Life Challenge, you can simply go to ilovemylifechallenge.com and find out more about the book there. If you've not yet done it, I would love for you to write this down because this one thing I think is going to serve you so greatly, and that is to get your assessment. It's free. Again, no strings attached. We're going to send you some really powerful resources once we know where you're at, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, even in regard to your resilience rank. Go to resiliencerank.com. It is our gift to all of you. And of course, if anybody would like to make an appointment to have a bit of a conversation with me. These are short 15 to 30-minute combos, just us talking about your blueprint for 2021. I know that 2020 has been a tremendous challenge, and a lot of people are looking for areas for support, for mentorship, for even coaching and the like. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more about what 2021 might unfold with other guidance, I'm happy to have that conversation with you. You can email us at team@adammarkel.com. I'm always happy to make time, and these short calls can be very, very evocative. I'm really good at questioning. I'm really good at getting to the bottom of things, so I'm happy to spend that time with all of you. And of course, If you haven't connected with us, we'd love to have you come and check out our podcast, the Conscious Pivot Podcast. You can reach that at adammarkel.com/podcasts. You can email us. You can follow us on social. We've got an I Love My Life Challenge Facebook page. You can find that, the I Love My Life Challenge page on Facebook, but we also love very much being on Instagram and LinkedIn, and just wonderful ways that we can connect going forward. And I want to remind us of the one key ritual that started this all for me so many years ago, when I had that moment in the hospital and I thought truly that day that my life was ending, but that it was ending as such a disappointment to me. I couldn't believe that I'd gotten myself in that state. And one thing I know is that our minds are not always our best friends. In fact, they can be a tough foe at times. And this one practice has helped me to recognize that my mind is my friend. My thoughts can be something that I actually love, and love them unconditionally. And I know that's challenging because some of our thoughts are pretty rough, even awful and scary at times. And I know that's true. So I don't have to know, you don't have to say yes to that in the chat for me to know that that's the case for you as it is for me. But this one waking ritual has really helped me to get sort of the leverage over my mind and to really love my mind, because I wake up in the morning every day and recognize that that's a gift and a blessing. And it wasn't a guarantee when I went to bed the night before. It's not a guarantee for any of us. And then I say those words out loud. I wake up, I put my feet on the floor, and I say these 4 simple words. And I've learned that when I love my life loves me back. I love my thoughts love me back. When I love my body loves me back. When I love my friends love me back. When I love the world, I feel the world loves me back. And again, I know this is challenging at the times that we're in right now. I'm just going to read. There's a question that came in from Mariano. It says, how you can be up and down while I am jobless for a year. Believe me, it's difficult to stay positive and stay with this feeling of gratitude while you have to deal with these ugly feelings every day. Do you have any tip besides the ones that have been mentioned? Yeah, you know what, Mariano? So I know what that feels like. I think a lot of people know what that feels like. And it really starts with the way that the day begins. This is fundamentally my, I'd say the greatest offering that I have to make to anybody is I used to start my day with so many of the feelings that you just described, just feeling like a failure, feeling like a fraud, even feeling just unhappy, miserable, angry. The list goes on, because I allowed my mind at the beginning of the day to lean into those feelings. It became my default. And now what I do is I start with that code of conduct. I'm not sure if you were in the webinar at the moment that we did that. Maybe you can catch the replay if not, but this simple code of conduct, these statements that I start the day with, I experience. So right now, when you think about what you most want in your life, you want to feel good about yourself. You want to feel confident. You want to feel energized. You want to feel productive. You want to feel creative. Those are the things that if you can cultivate those feelings, my experience is that your day will reflect those feelings by way of your actions. Your actions will reflect those feelings. Your feelings will attract other people because of your feelings. Meaning we're always sometimes attracting things or we're repelling things. And if you want to attract a new job or a new opportunity or money or opportunities to earn money, you've got to set the table. You've got to put the blueprint in place for those things to actually show up. And I know it requires faith. Again, we said earlier, it's called pre-visional gratitude. So you're giving gratitude for something that you cannot yet see physically, but you're envisioning it, and then giving gratitude for this thing that you're envisioning. And you have to have faith to do that. You have to trust yourself, and you have to trust the universe as well. So I hope that helps. And it's just been such a blessing to be with all of you today. I've loved this. I've loved so much. I mean, just tremendous interaction. tremendous love that's being shared. And I wish you just the most amazing rest of your day. I hope we'll connect again soon. Again, we're here to support you. We love this organization, A Small World. So I want to thank them for inviting me to be a guest again. And I'll just say this, mwah, we love you. And I hope right now, when I ask this question, you guys can all type your answers in it. How do you feel about your life? How do you feel about your life right now? And if your answer is, I love my life, then go ahead and type it in the chat. I love my life. I love my life. I love my life. You can even say it out loud from wherever you are right now. And I hope it becomes a new practice, a new ritual for you starting when you wake up tomorrow morning. Okay, everybody. Mwah. Ciao for now. Love, love, love. See you soon. Bye-bye.